Meet our protagonist, an intern at the Judicial Research Institute, known for his calm demeanor and sharp mind. But little does he know, his life is about to take a wild turn. His life changes drastically as he dives into a dangerous undercover investigation, where the lines between righteousness and sin blur like never before. Infiltrating the criminal network means abandoning the law and plunging into the darkest corners of society. What will he sacrifice to uncover the truth? The temple, a facade of serenity, hides a bustling casino beneath its solemn exterior. What secrets lie behind its doors? Inside, a card table set beneath the Buddha statue is alive with gamblers, their eyes reflecting desperation and greed. Among them is a monk, seemingly out of place, his calm exterior hiding a fierce determination. What is his true role in this game? As the stakes rise, he observes every move, calculating his next step in this high-stakes game. Can he maintain his composure amidst the chaos? With money flying and tension rising, the monk's confidence shines. Can our protagonist keep up in this dangerous game? What will happen as the cards are dealt? The air is thick with anticipation. Who will emerge victorious? With the stakes so high, the line between ally and enemy blurs further. Can our protagonist trust anyone in this deadly game? Johann's confidence shatters as he faces a surprising defeat. Who could have predicted this twist? Johann calmly gathered the money towards him. Johann's sharp instincts kick in as he senses danger lurking nearby. The casino boss feels the pressure mount. No one wins big and leaves easily in his realm. He quickly signals for a notorious scammer, knowing desperate times call for desperate measures. The ringleader knows that winning isn't just about luck, it's a deadly game of wits. The scammer takes his place at the table with a deceptive smile. His strategy is about to unfold. He began to shuffle the cards in a practiced manner, but those small movements did not go unnoticed by Johann. The casino boss switches tactics, unleashing chaos to disrupt Johann's winning streak. The stakes couldn't be higher. Each moment is a gamble in this high-stakes game. In a calculated move, he uses a waitress to create a distraction. Will it be enough? Will Johann's strategy hold up against the manipulations of the casino boss? As chaos ensues, Johann's patience is tested. Will he keep his cool? His observational skills are put to the test. Can he outsmart the chaos around him? With everything on the line, Johann decides to go all in. This is the moment of truth. The curly-haired guy seems ready. His face reveals nothing, but the tension is thick. He slowly turned over the last card to reveal the strongest deck on the table. The tension is palpable as the last card is revealed. It's a game changer. In an instant, all eyes are on the table. Who will emerge victorious? Johann understood very well that he had fallen into a fraudulent trap, but at this time he had no way to prove it. The realization hits hard. Lost money cannot be regained. And what's even scarier is that Johann not only bet money, he also put his father's house documents on the line. And just when he thought he could catch a break, Johann stepped outside the temple yard to get some fresh air. Panic sets in as he realizes the urgency of the situation. Johann stands outside, the weight of his choices crashing down. His mind races back to his childhood, a flashback triggered by the chaos. Johann was sent to the temple to become a young monk. At that time, he had nothing left on him. The monk's words echo in his mind. Memorize the scriptures, and you can call your father. Johann tried his best, memorizing the sutras by heart. But that phone call never happened, and his father didn't come back. As memories flood back, he reawakens to the present, standing on the verge of a decision. Next to him now is a woman, bringing a new twist to his fate. Stay tuned, as the tension continues to build. Johann, a man of unwavering determination, turns back to the casino, ready to face whatever awaits him. As soon as he entered the door, upon entering, Johann realizes his target has vanished, heightening the tension of the moment. At the card table, with no time to waste, Johann takes action, revealing the cheaters at the table. This time, Johann no longer remains silent like before. As the chaos unfolds, Johann captures the evidence of their deceit on his phone. He calmly pointed out the trump card that Tokchuan was holding, and even said the monk's exact card. Clearly both were cheaters of the casino. Right after that, Johann took out his phone and quietly recorded all the evidence of fraud. Suddenly, the police storm in, turning the casino into a scene of pandemonium, when suddenly a noise was heard outside. A group of plainclothes. Amidst the chaos, Johann remains eerily calm, as if he orchestrated this all along. The whole casino immediately fell into chaos. At the police station, Rohan's true identity comes to light during the interrogation. Rohan still sat still in front of the card table. He calmly assists the authorities, revealing the truth behind his presence at the casino. Rohan calmly cooperated with the interrogation. As the pieces fit together, the stakes grow higher, leaving everyone questioning their next move. In turn, he proactively provided the police with the phone number of the training academy. What will happen next? Will the truth prevail, or will darkness overshadow justice? The director will explain clearly. In the evening, Johan returned home exhausted, but the only people who came to welcome him were his grandmother and 2 grandchildren who quietly prepared offerings and arranged the altar. It turned out that today was his brother's day to coax him, and not long after the dean and a prosecutor also came to the house. After lighting incense at the casino, the 3 of them went out to the courtyard to drink. In the dim light, Johan began to recount everything that had happened at the casino in the temple. He thought there was something unusual, and before the police burst in, the woman in the casino reminded him that there would be a confrontation. At the same time, Chairman Zhang, the person Johan silently watched, left suddenly. From these 2 details, Johan speculated that many gamblers had received advance notice of the police inspection. His traces coincided with Director No's thoughts. He revealed that Chairman Zhang was the namesake behind the casino and had an extremely close relationship with Chief Hong of the Central Investigation. That's why Han always receives inside information every time the police prepare to take action. In fact, a month ago, Director No and this prosecutor took the initiative to meet Johan. Their goal is to make you an insider. Director No is trying to overthrow the Hong School. The Ministry of Justice is planning to establish an anti-corruption investigation department, but Trung Fong Hong was one of the strongest opponents. Therefore, the only way is to follow Chairman Zhang's trail to find evidence to incriminate him. Johan is the important link. He was in the same class as head of department Hong's son, Ji San. Through this relationship, Johan had the opportunity to approach Ji San from there gradually to President Zhang. However, being an insider means facing danger. At first, Johan did not immediately agree. To convince him, Director No and the prosecutor took turns talking a lot. They paint an open future while making enough promises. Finally, they told Johan directly that if a person without status or support like him wants to rise, he can only make great achievements. After a moment of thinking, Johan finally accepted the mission to ensure his safety. The prosecutor kept Johan's entire file in a secret place. Make sure your insider status will never be revealed. Since then, the plan has gone quite smoothly. Johan gradually approached Ji San and then through him infiltrated the casino in the temple. It's just a pity that in tonight's raid, the most important target, Chairman Zhang, escaped in time. After a moment of silence, the prosecutor slowly took out a photo and placed it in front of Rohan. The person in the photo, T. Wang, was considered Chairman Zhang's most loyal right-hand man. He said that in the past, Chairman Zhang was arrested for being involved in illegal casinos, but thanks to his close relationship with the department head, the case was quickly suppressed. To escape, President Zhang pushed T. Wang to be the one to bear the blame. After being sent to prison, T. Wang secretly contacted the prosecution. He said he was keeping a video recording of Chairman Zhang playing red and black, so he wanted to use it as a bargaining chip in exchange for a reduced sentence. But the strange thing is that right after making that suggestion, T. Wang suddenly turned on the phone. So the prosecutor came up with a bold plan. Johan had to go to jail to approach T. Wang for the video stage. Hearing this, Johan couldn't help but hesitate. Being an insider was dangerous enough, but entering prison on his own was a completely different story. He wanted to go further in his career, but the price seemed too great. Mr. Johan hesitated and the prosecutor immediately spoke with a clear voice. He said that Chief Hong had hidden T. Wang very carefully, even banning all visits. The Ministry of Justice has no other way, so it has to consider this reckless plan. He emphasized that Johan has come to this step and cannot easily turn back. At that moment, Principal No interrupted. He thought this matter was too important to force Johan. Every decision must be your own to think and choose. The next day, a secret meeting immediately took place. Supporters of the establishment of an anti-corruption investigation room gathered to discuss how to deal with the central investigation, but they did not know that there was a traitor among them. He quietly recorded the names of all the attendees on his phone, and not long after that list was sent directly to the head of the Central Control Institute's own department. Right after the meeting ended, the prosecutor had just left the meeting place when he was suddenly ambushed. Luckily, he reacted promptly. Thanks to his good fighting skills, he escaped the encirclement in a hurry. As soon as he was out of danger, the first thing he did was call the warden, worriedly asking if anything was wrong with him. That night, on the way back, Johann was suddenly stopped and taken away by a group of people from the casino. The person behind it was none other than the boss of the casino. When his business was ruined, he became angry. In the dark room, he brought out cold onion tools and tortured him. Johann did not show any mercy. It was not until late at night, when his anger had subsided, that he had someone throw Johann out like a piece of trash. His whole body was covered in sauce. Johann did not dare to return home because he was afraid that his grandmother would worry. He had no choice but to wander to the headmaster. Even though he was mentally prepared that he could be retaliated against at any time, Johann remained unmoved after what had just happened. He made it clear to the director that he still wanted to continue his mission. Hearing those words, the headmaster was silent for a long time. In that moment, he seemed to see the shadow of Johann's late father. When he was alive, he was also such a tough and upright person. People can walk by faith, but the path of righteousness is always full of dangers. The headmaster believes that the son of such a person will certainly not be ordinary. He believes Johann can inherit his father's will and continue moving forward. However, he still made it clear that this mission was too dangerous. If Johann feels unable to continue, he has the right to stop at any time. After thinking for a while, Johann finally nodded in acceptance. But the next morning, something that made him dizzy happened. The casino boss suddenly appeared at his grandmother's door. Han pretended to be polite in talking to her, but his eyes were always directed towards Johann, as if implicitly warning that his grandmother could become a target at any time. Seeing his only relative being dragged into danger, Johann could no longer keep calm. He immediately went to Director No, and the prosecutor said he wanted to withdraw from the mission. Hearing that, the prosecutor became furious. He thought that Johann was giving up in the middle of school after all the planning had begun. On the contrary, Principal No appeared much calmer. He clearly understood Johann's situation. Furthermore, the situation of the group supporting the Anti-Corruption Investigation Department is also very bad at this time. After last night's secret meeting, several people suddenly disappeared. In such a chaotic context, the fact that a person just wants to protect the peace of his family is not blameworthy. After saying a few comforting words, Rohan and the last three people quietly parted ways at night. On the way home, Chief No suddenly received a call from Chief Yule. In a short but meaningful conversation, Department Head Yule mentioned Rohan. Thus, he knew clearly about the boy who was secretly participating in their plan. Not long after the captain's car entered the court's parking lot, a stranger suddenly appeared. In just a blink of an eye, he tried to harm Captain No and then quickly disappeared. The news that arrived made Johann feel extremely happy. The person who had trusted him and assigned him tasks had now gone to visit the King of Hell. The feeling of guilt caused Johann to immediately go to the prosecutor to help him clarify the captain's permanent departure. After checking the contact history of the people who participated in the secret meeting that day, the prosecutor suddenly discovered a scary detail that before the incident, all of them had received a call from Department Head Yule. That means that Department Head Yule is most likely the person behind everything. In fact, he was also the official who helped Chief Hong Vuong take power during the investigation. Now, the investigation appears to be conducting a ruthless purge to eliminate opponents. Faced with this situation, Johann understood that he was on the brink of life and death. If he continues to stay silent, he can only wait for his turn to be eliminated, and even his relatives may be dragged into danger. While thinking, Johann looked at the photo of Vien Trung No and then looked at the photo of his late father. Those two images seem to merge into one. Righteous people fall one after another. If no one stands up against injustice, it will forever exist. Fun with Johann also made a decision. According to the prosecutor's arrangement, he was convicted of gathering to play gambling and then transferred to the prison where the rhinoceros was being held. But the plan almost failed. When the car escorting the prisoner had not yet arrived at the prison, the head of the department, Un, went to the prosecutor. He directly exposed the fact that Johann was installed as an insider. Realizing that the situation was extremely dangerous, the prosecutor was forced to do something extremely painful. To protect Johann, he erased all records related to his insider status. From that moment on, Johann no longer had any protection from the outside. He could only fumble around in the dark until he found evidence to overthrow President Zhang. What's even scarier is that this prison is holding all those who were arrested at the casino. As soon as Johann entered the prison area, Tok Xuan and the monk immediately recognized him. Their eyes filled with hatred. The coming days will certainly be extremely harsh, but Johann's eyes remain calm and steady. You've come this far and there's absolutely no turning back this time. Johann was put into a cell full of gang members. As soon as he set foot inside, he was attacked by the prisoners as if in revenge. Just as the situation became chaotic, the announcement to check the cells rang out throughout the prison area, and immediately those who had just committed the attack obediently returned to their seats. They sat upright as if nothing had happened. The cell door suddenly opened, and a blond man walked in with an extremely prominent hairstyle. Even though he was wearing a monk's outfit, his demeanor was completely different from the rest. His every gesture is more leisurely and confident than a normal person. Even while checking the room, he calmly gave orders to the warden, but the warden did not dare to react. Just looking at that is enough to understand that his position in this prison is not normal. The cell inspection that day was essentially like a display of the blonde guy's authority. Through a few sentences between him and the big brother of the prison cell, everyone knew that the two of them had exchanged favors before. The blonde guy was once betrayed by the chief of the room and almost went to pay his respects to the king. Fortunately, he still has one last card. Tai to play red and black, he just needs the opportunity to confront the Ministry of Justice in a final judgment. He believes that he can reverse the fate of a person who was harmed in prison to become the person who stands above all the prisoners here. When passing by, the blonde-haired man Johann stopped for a moment after learning that Johann had been sent to prison for playing red-black. His eyes flashed with interest and appreciation. Coming to the prisoner's yard that day, Johann was suddenly called away by a prison guard. He was led straight to the back kitchen and the large door was immediately locked from the outside. Realizing something was wrong, Johann cautiously walked inside. At that moment, from all four directions a group of prisoners suddenly rushed out, led by none other than the monk and Tok Xuan who once sat at the card table in the casino at the temple. Apparently they bought dozens of prison guards to have a chance to take revenge. Before taking action, Tok Xuan also deliberately told Johann the worst news. He revealed that to compensate for the loss when the casino was destroyed, the casino boss would definitely take over Johann's grandmother's house. Sure enough, outside the prison, the casino boss came to Johann's house. He pressured her to demand money and even attacked Anne's grandmother. And in that dark kitchen, Johann was beaten to a pulp by the prisoners. Only when their anger had subsided did they let the prison drag him out. Returning to the cell, Johann quietly sat down in a corner without saying a word. Seeing his appearance, the cell's boss just stood there looking at him with thoughtful eyes. After a while, someone came to give water to the prisoners. By the way, that person secretly gave the room boss a note telling him to take Johann to the kitchen tonight. However, after reading it, the cell's boss did not have any reaction. When the day the prisoners were taken to take a collective shower, the detention area's bathroom was quickly covered with thick steam. In the corner of the room, a deaf prisoner was quietly cleaning the floor. Because he could not hear or speak, he was often the target of teasing and bullying by others. With just a little carelessness, he was pulled over by another prisoner to cause trouble. Seeing that scene, Johann tried to step forward to intervene, but the deaf prisoner quickly pushed him away and frantically slapped himself in the face repeatedly as if apologizing. He tries to rub the opponent's wine to avoid bigger trouble. After showering, Johann went to the deaf prisoner and used sign language to express that he was sorry for barging into his affairs so suddenly. At that moment, another prisoner came to convey the words of the cell's boss asking Johann to go to the bathroom next door. Big Brother wanted to talk to him privately, where Johann learned something more. The blonde prisoner who went to check the cell with the warden the other day was named Jun Seo. Since he was brought here, the prison's atmosphere has completely changed. Thanks to Jun Seo's practice card playing skills, he gradually controlled both the prisoners and the prison guards. Under his control, what was originally a prison is now nothing more than a giant gambling racket. Whoever has the ability to play cards better than others has power. Boss Cell obviously doesn't want to surrender to Jun Seo, so he made a proposal to Johann. He is willing to spend money for Johann to approach Jun Seo and stay by his side to be the other person's hand and foot. When the right time comes, Johann will have to do something important at the request of his boss. Hearing this, Johann couldn't help but fall into a difficult position. Mr. Capital, who had gone to prison as an insider, did not expect to be dragged into another conspiracy. Seeing the hesitation of the big brother of detention, he immediately offered a more attractive condition. He said that if Johann agreed to cooperate, he would send someone outside to deal with the casino boss, because everyone knew that the casino boss was the one causing trouble for his grandmother. It's dangerous in prison, but outside the situation is not much better. After the permanent departure of the director, Department Head Un and Department Head Hong personally sought out the prosecutor. The two men often warn him to just do his job and not continue to take advantage of Johann to stir up the situation further. That night, the woman who used to play red and black with Johann in the temple accidentally found a file related to him. From the information, she found out about the documents for the house that Johann had put up for auction the day before. What surprised her was that the value of this house was much greater than she had imagined. That same evening, she immediately went to Johann's grandmother's house, and thanks to her connections, she arranged for the two of them to talk to each other over the phone. In prison, as soon as Johann heard her voice, he quickly asked the boss, worried if she was being harassed by the boss and causing trouble. When mentioning that, grandmother suddenly choked and her voice trembled. Even though she hadn't said it clearly, Johann understood how scared and frightened she was in the past few days. Before he could say more, the phone was snatched by the other woman. She bluntly said that if Johann really cared about his grandmother, he should quickly settle his debt with the boss. Johann tried to ask who she was, but the woman only said that sooner or later they would meet again and then immediately hung up. The call ended with Johann lying in his heart because he wanted his grandmother to be safe. Finally, he had to accept the conditions of the leader of the cell. To reassure Johann, the boss of the cell phoned the casino boss outside right in front of him. He asked the other guy to stop causing trouble for Johann's grandmother, and promised that in the future he would give him a portion of the profits from the property in his name. After that call, the immediate danger to Johann's grandmother was temporarily extinguished. Even though he was in prison, Big Brother's outside power is still very strong. Big Brother told Johann that as long as he helped him complete the task, he would introduce him to him after the job was done. Worshipping the strong, since then no one knows where T. Wang has gone. He gathers to play red and black in prison without worrying about being discovered because all the prison guards are gamblers. Even the security guards are also casino managers. In addition, the casino here is also clearly hierarchical. The lowest level is in the changing room. Once Rohan can stand out in this casino, someone will take him to the employee's office where the stakes are completely front end. Under the pressure of money, the prison guards are also itching to make a big deal here. Those who perform excellently at this casino will be brought to Jun Seo's side. The premium casino is located in the warden's office. Every day, powerful figures from outside come here to gather to play gambling. Jun Seo is a genius red-black player who helps the supervisor win big at the card table. After clearly understanding his path to advancement, Johann officially began his journey. Under the sponsorship of Big Brother, he first went to the lowest level casino in the changing room. Johann still uses his extraordinary observation and analysis abilities to predict other people's trump cards. So as soon as he entered the table, he won a room. Johann was extremely confident, thinking that if he continued like this, he could reach Jun Suk's side, but he underestimated these people. Even though they are just low-level gamblers, in this depraved Mayuma prison, no one can be underestimated. Very soon Johann failed miserably and lost all the smokehouse equipment. Over the next few days, he repeatedly failed at low-level casinos and was punished by his boss to clean toilets and do chores. Even so, the boss still provides smokehouse equipment every day so that Johann can continue to play red and black. But no matter how big Johann's cards are, other prisoners can turn up bigger trump cards to take him down. Johann felt extremely tired, as if he were facing an invisible wall. Big Brother also realized Johann's situation, but he did not scold him. On the contrary, he advised him to start again with very small games and not be too hasty. You should also not have the illusion of flipping the glue in one game because that will only push you to the edge of the abyss. The monk and Tok Xuan knew that Johann was frequently going in and out of the casino these days, but when the prisoners went out to work, they dragged him into an empty vegetable greenhouse. But even though he heard Johann's cry for help, the big guy in the distance still pretended not to see. Xuan Hair Guy scolded Johann that if he had money, he should pay them first and not just give it away. When they all tried to hit him again, Johann struggled to run away and was finally discovered by Kai Nguc. The curly-haired man's pursuit had to end, but Johann was locked into solitary confinement. Johann sat in the small, cramped space when he suddenly heard a low voice from the cell next to man's voice. That person said that in each hand, you only need to look at the first two cards to decide whether to follow or not. If Johann wants, he can teach him how to play black and white in prison. Johann did not know who the other person was and did not want to have anything to do with him, so he definitely refused his offer. At this moment, The prison guard opened the door to let Johann out. He is about to be temporarily released from prison because there is news that his grandmother has passed away forever. At the lady's ceremony, the police officer told Johann that there were no other injuries on her body, so the preliminary conclusion was that she had done something foolish. It's just that when she left forever, she had a bunch of paper in her mouth, and that paper was real estate documents. At this time, head of department Hong's son, Ji San, also came to pay his respects. He was the man who took Johann to the casino in the temple before. Johann thought for a moment and felt that the murderer was not the casino boss, because he would not do something that was both illegal and unprofitable. Counting the people who knew about the house documents besides and himself and the casino boss, only Ji San remained. Johann asked Ji San why he harmed his grandmother. Seeing that Johann doubted Ji San, he was no longer fake. He said directly that it was Johann who started this war, and also intended to use him to eliminate Chairman Zhang and his father. Ji San basically didn't want to have the house papers, he just wanted to punish Johann, so he used the opportunity to harm someone else and trick his grandmother into the hands of the casino boss, eventually causing her to be persecuted until she left forever. Ji San provoked Johann and said that the person who harmed his grandmother was none other than you. Then the two of them fought in the rain soaked in diapers. At that moment the prosecutor appeared to stop Johann. He told him that even though the plan encountered some unexpected problems, he still had to keep going without losing his will. After completing the ceremony for her, Johann was locked into solitary confinement. This time he proactively begged the man in the cell next to him to teach him how to play red and black. Now he has nothing left to worry about, but in his heart there is only hatred and wanting to personally kill him. To achieve his goal, he is willing to do everything. Johann followed the instructions of the prisoner in the Vietnam room. Based on the first two cards he received, he could calculate the probability of receiving the next good card. If you receive two cards with no potential, you should give up promptly. In addition to accurate calculations, there is also a psychological battle on the card table. Sitting position is also an important factor because the person sitting in front of you when betting will definitely reveal information. If they raise more, it proves that the cards in their hand are very strong. After receiving the signal, the player will consider following or abandoning their cards based on their cards. After a night of introspection, Johann felt he had absorbed all the knowledge that the prisoner taught. At this time, Kai Ngoc opened Johann's room door to let him return to his cell because the punishment time had ended. Johann asked about the prisoner in the next room and Kai Ngoc said that he had been released last night. As soon as he returned to his cell, Johann immediately asked his boss to give him another chance. He promised to win back both his capital and what he had lost before and successfully complete the task assigned by his big brother. MUI returned to Johann's card table in a much calmer position. He calculated the odds of winning while competing with other players. In the end, he pretended to pretend that a pig would eat a tiger and win all the smokehouse equipment on the table. Johann brought the smokehouse equipment to find the curly-haired guy and the monk used them to pay them interest. After dealing with the curly-haired guy's harassment, Johann went to the greenhouse to meet his boss. Although after one time in and out of solitary confinement, Johann's card playing skills had improved dramatically, but according to the promotion rules in this prison, he still has a long way to go to reach the top casino. Big Brother has no time to wait. He marked the date of Jun Seo's release from prison on the calendar and prepared to act on the movie's premiere date this year. That day, the prison will have more than 2 hours of free activity, enough for him to eliminate Jun Seo. Boss decided to let Rohan take a shortcut and directly contact Jun Seo. Because Jun Seo has been hiding in the infirmary recently, the Big Brother ordered his junior to break Rohan's ankle and force him to go there to treat her. After bandaging, Johann started exploring the infirmary. He remembered Jun Seo's prison number and found his cell. Who would have thought that as soon as he entered the door and saw a few lines, he was dragged by a group of people in front of Jun Seo. Jun Seo immediately recognized Johann as a new recruit in the boss's room. Johann immediately knelt down on the ground and begged Jun Seo to accept him as his junior because he also wanted to make money. Hearing that, Jun Seo suddenly got mad and broke the layer of flesh on Johann's leg. After checking that he was not lying, he agreed to fight him. If Johann wins, he will consider accepting him. This game is not about big or small, but it depends on who can guess the card above their head first. The ultimate is the truth about why Johann came here. While guessing the card, Jun Seo still did not stop considering Johann. Then ask him if he was the person sent by Big Brother to harm him. Johann had already guessed the card above his head but was confused by Jun Seo's words and revealed it. Just like that, the two immediately started fighting. At the decisive moment, Johann pretended to faint, But when Jun Seo wasn't paying attention, he pushed him into a basin of water and turned on the generator. When Johan woke up, the jailer told him to change into a new prison outfit because in the VIP room next door there was a distinguished guest coming to visit him. The person who came to meet Johan was the woman at the casino table in the temple that day. Her name is Soyeon. It seems that she also knows quite well about the affairs of Chairman Zhang and Department Head Hong. Soyeon promised Johan that whatever he needed she would support. Johan remembered that one day at the casino in the temple, he saw Soyeon using a beauty trick to seduce President Zhang, then stole his phone to install software. He still can't trust Soyeon because this woman's identity is definitely not simple. After returning to the cell, the boss asked him about what he saw in the infirmary, but Johan simply said that he met Jun Seo while searching and was troubled by him. But he never mentioned the meeting with Soyeon. When he left, Johan bought dozens of prison guards to use his personal phone to call Soyeon. He needed her to help him prepare a sum of money and investigate the man in the solitary confinement room next door. Johan wants to know if he is really T. Wang or not. Soyeon worked extremely efficiently and quickly found someone to teach Johan how to play cards. When he met Johan, he discovered that he was not T. Wang but a henchman who had been by his side and had his onions torn apart. This person's name is Professor. Johan got straight to the point asking where he could find Rhino Light. The professor certainly knew, so he said directly that the rhinoceros was in the infirmary, but that place was banned from entering. Johan intended to use the money to buy a shaft, but the professor said money was not the important issue. Jun-suk had to agree. This makes it difficult for Johan because he and Jun-suk just had a conflict, so meeting again will definitely be a loss or a loss. This time the professor proactively came because there was a way to get straight into the intermediate casino. Often, prison staff will participate in gambling at this casino. They will give money to prisoners in the name of sponsors so that prisoners can compete on their behalf to earn money. Johan can find a strong supporter. In this prison, the only person who can suppress Jun Seo is the warden. Besides the warden, the most powerful person is the security warden. Having said this, the professor finally revealed his thoughts. He has some feelings for the security guard and is willing to act as a bridge for Johan, as long as he pays him a large enough fee. After all, the money was paid by Soyeon, so Johan immediately agreed. During a work trip, Johan secretly reached an agreement with the security guard. He was willing to share all the profits from playing red and black as long as security advertising became his sponsor. Johan finally made it to the intermediate casino. Talking together were old acquaintances like the spring-haired guy and the monk. Unexpectedly, Jun Seo in the middle of the school also participated as a dealer. The monk and the curly-haired guy, who were a pair of cheating cards, still haven't changed their nature. They use the sound and touch of the chips to transmit signals to each other. After losing several games in a row, Johan also picked up the chips and deliberately made noise. The curly-haired guy aggressively warned him that if he made any more noise, his hand would double. But this time, Jun Seo seemed to want to support Johan, who also picked up the chips to play. Seeing that, the curly-haired man immediately fell silent. At this time, Johan noticed Jun-suk's extreme thrusting movements and suddenly remembered the cheating signals that the professor had taught. In this world, the color of the pole represents different card suits, so each gesture of pushing the pole has a profound meaning. At this time, Jun-suk also personally signaled to Johan that he knew the monk's 2 trump cards and then made a mischievous face at him. Jun-suk apparently also discovered the cheating rule of Tok Xuan and the monk, but his reminder made Johan extremely confused. In the end, with the worst relationship between the two, Jun Xeok had no reason to help me. The final game came, after the monk bet all he forced Rohan to also bet all. When he turned over the monk's trump card, it was exactly as Jun Xeok had signaled, but this game still had one final draw. If the monk draws an ace, he can turn the situation around and win against Rohan. The monk received the card from Jun Xeok's hand. After carefully mentioning one corner, he was overjoyed that he had won. Who would have thought that the smile that didn't last 3 strings when the card was turned over was not an ace card that turned the tide of the game, but just a 2 card. Johan won, but he couldn't be happy. He doesn't know why Jun Seo helped him and whether there's a bigger trap hidden behind it. These worries make Johan unable to sleep. All his actions were caught in the eyes of the big brother. The next day, when he went to the infirmary to get spices, Johan went to Jun Seo and asked him why he helped him. Jun Seo frankly admitted that he had actually been paying attention to Johan for a long time. Whether it was giving the person who beat him a fresh diaper at the factory or the professor teaching him to play cards in solitary confinement, All were scenarios arranged by Jun Seo to be able to approach Johan more conveniently. Jun Seo explained that the reason he chose Johan was because he was smart and strong-willed. Because when Jun Seo was imprisoned, he intended to dominate the Korean red-black world with such a great goal that he alone, of course, could not achieve. Jun Seo convinces Johan that he is no longer a random trainee but just a person with a criminal record. After being released from prison, it is difficult to avoid being despised by everyone. If so, why not cooperate with Jun Seo? Don't waste your intelligence. Faced with Jun Seo's invitation, Johan happily agreed. Very quickly, he left the boss's cell and moved into a single room in the infirmary reserved for patients. To get this room, Jun Seo had to sacrifice a lot of shares. Not only that, he also gave Johan a big debut gift. That's the T. Wang he was looking for. T. Wang was locked in a hospital room in the back corner with his husband, who had completely lost his mind, just sitting in a wheelchair and drooling. Jun So asked Johan why he was looking for him. Johan knew he absolutely couldn't reveal his insider secrets, so he replied that T. Wang owed him money. But Jun So's face was full of doubt, seemingly not believing in this reason. Johan wants to see T. Wang's personal belongings. Jun Suk said that he didn't have anything valuable but only a USB that seemed to have some value left. Before Johan could ask more, Jun Suk hurriedly left to prepare to go watch a movie. Today is the day Big Brother prepares to attack Jun Suk. At this moment, he called Johan to go first, ostensibly because he wanted Johan to repay the huge red debt. But in fact, he gave him a knife to prepare to deal with Jun Suk together later. When Johan returned to the cinema room, Jun Suk also received news that his boss had just come looking for him to cause trouble. He whispered a few words to his juniors and then called Johan to come to the Big Brother's room. Big Brother and his juniors are ready. Each guy had a knife and looked as if they were determined to take Jun Suk's life. At this time, Johan also pulled out a small knife from his leather bag but broke it immediately, turning out to be on the way from the Big Brother's place back to the cinema room. The deaf prisoner he once helped informed Johan that the boss's real plan was to harm both Jun Suk and Johan. Turns out the boss didn't trust Johan, so he sent someone to check on Johan's situation. He also learned that Johan lied to him that he and Jun Seok lived together in harmony. That's why Big Brother also had murderous intentions towards Johan. Instead of his plan being delayed, the Big Brother didn't think much about leading the crowd and then went into battle. In the movie room, Jun Seok's juniors saw that it was time. They immediately led people to look for Jun Seok, but on the way they were stopped by prison guards. Jun Seok and Johan faced the crowd wearing Western clothes and did not fight the former fiercely. However, the Big Brother still could not achieve his goal because Jun Seo has an extremely strong survival instinct. He and Rohan had already put on a protective shoe layer inside. At this moment, the security guard led the people in to control the Big Brother and his juniors. Because before coming here, Rohan also found him and used benefits in exchange for protection. That night, Jun Seo had someone hang the Big Brother and his juniors up and prepare to torture them, but the professor was also stopped. It turned out that the person who brought dozens of prison guards to block Jun Seok's junior's path to the hospital was the professor. Before that, the person who secretly informed the boss that Rohan had surrendered to Jun Seok was also him. The professor saw that Jun Seok had a special relationship with Rohan. He was afraid that it would affect his interests, so he borrowed someone else to harm him so that Big Brother could eliminate both of them. But the professor did not expect that the amount of money he bribed the prison guard would be as much as the amount of money given to the security guard. This made the security guard dissatisfied. In a world that puts profits first like this prison, the professor has committed a great crime. The underground security advertisement allows Jun Seok to handle everyone. Even if he harms others, as long as he handles the consequences well, he will not interfere. Just as Jun Seok was happily watching his boss being tortured, the supervisor called to tell him not to make a big deal out of it. At this point, Big Brother only had one life left and was locked in a solitary confinement room. That day, Seo Jeon visited Johan again and brought with him an investigation into his grandmother's forever passing. This is a document secretly given to Sojin by a female police officer participating in the case. This female police officer believes that her death is a case of harming others. Although the cause of her death was due to a traumatic brain injury from a fall from a high place, but there were bruises on her face and back of her neck and broken bones from being beaten. What's even more strange is that the police officer in charge of the case had just finished the investigation and had asked for leave. Not long after, he was found dead at home. Johan was not surprised. Right from the day of her ceremony, he knew that the culprit behind it was Ji-san. It was he who instigated the harm to others, but I just had no evidence, so I couldn't prove it. Teacher Sozian constantly helps me and also cares about my grandmother's forever passing. Johann wants to know what her purpose is. Sozian replied that she was revenge. She had to destroy someone herself to be satisfied. Because of this revenge, Sozian has been preparing for 20 years. She wants Johann to join her and become her knife to harm others. Sozian's enemy is Department Head Yul, but Department Head Yul is a cunning fake fox, so Sozian is temporarily not strong enough to confront Han directly. However, she now has a plan to catch the person who harmed Han's grandmother. To do that, what Rohan needs to do is take complete control of this prison. In another development, after the professor left, Rohan became the only person close to Jun Seo. As a top confidant, of course he also had to have some bravery. To train Johann's fighting ability, Jun Seo personally pushed him into Toksone's cell, forcing him to fight Number Dong alone to hone his bravery. Of course, Johann could not stand the beating and was beaten until he had bruises all over his body. Next, Jun Seo took Johann to meet a deaf prisoner named Teacher Nam. Turns out he's also an actor because Jun Seo is about to become a star. In fact, he is not deaf at all, but is also an experienced deceiver with superior techniques. Teacher Nam will be the one to teach Johann tricks to cheat on the black and white table. Previously, Johann played black and white based entirely on meticulous observation and deduction, without any manual skills. Teacher Nam immediately performed a test act in front of Johann, and in just a moment, he hid a card in his palm in a mysterious way. Even Johann completely failed to notice. After that, Johann diligently practiced the trick of hiding this card, but to no avail. In front of Teacher Nam's flexible hands, Johann's hands looked as clumsy as his feet. Teacher Nam sighed and said Johann simply did not have the talent of a trickster. But Jun Seo did not give up. Because he was stuck here, he decided to move on to the next training part. This time the practice session took place right at the frontline casino. Johann changed into a suit but only did the job of serving tea and pouring water in the casino. Occasionally he will be given a few chips by a customer. In frontline casinos, there is not only cash in circulation, but also all kinds of debt papers mortgaged with red numbers or gizzards. Jun Suk trusted Johann so much that he showed him everything. However, these are all illegal. The subordinates, including Teacher Nam, were a bit worried. They thought that Jun Suk should not reveal all the casino secrets to Johann like that. A few days later Soyeon visited Johann again. Her face was full of wounds, showing that the investigation process was not going smoothly. Luckily, her efforts paid off. Soyeon obtained a video, which recorded the scene of the prosecutor carrying her body and rushing into an empty haystack. Johann was in pain. He could not believe that the prosecutor was also one of the evil enemies who harmed his grandmother. In the end, after Principal No left forever, he was the only person who stood by his side. In a moment of desperation, Johann told all about his plan to become a spy. He thought that he was a traitor to save his life. Just hand him over to the prosecutor to start the investigation. Secretary Hong can help him restore his identity and return to a normal life. But now it seems that the prosecutor has soon become Minister Hong's man. Johann told Sozian to go investigate first about the military police officer who had passed away forever. Perhaps he knew he was in danger, so he asked for help before leaving forever. Regarding the prosecutor's issue, Johann wanted to verify it himself. Mr. Lecoq found T. Wang to make an appointment with the prosecutor to meet him in prison. During the conversation, Johann asked many times if he could restore his identity after completing the mission. The prosecutor, without hesitation, promised with certainty that he would definitely let Johann return to a normal life. However, Johann noticed signs of lying from him, because Zion once said it after Headmaster No left forever. The prosecutor, on the other hand, was promoted to the Central Procuracy, so there must have been some exchange. Johann revealed the moment the prosecutor dumped her body, deducing that he was threatened by Department Head Eun to repeatedly harm Principal No and his grandmother. After completing everything, he not only withdrew but also received orders to be transferred to the central control position. Faced with Johann's questioning, the prosecutor did not explain, but instead warned him not to forget that he was the only person who could save Johann from prison. Just as the prosecutor was about to leave, Johann suddenly rushed forward. Looking at the dying prosecutor, Johann was extremely calm. It turned out that everything that had just happened was just his imagination. The prosecutor was still warning Johann not to exceed the limit, and after speaking, he prepared to stand up and leave. Johann quickly stood up, clutching the sharp tweezers, but did not dare to attack as he imagined. He used his shoe to ask the prosecutor what the video actually meant. 3 months ago, The prosecutor received a strange text message containing a GPS location string. He went to the address and found Johan's grandmother fainted in a pile of grass. The prosecutor immediately picked her up and left. That is the truth of the story. The prosecutor also did not know who recorded the video, but that person's purpose was to separate him and Johan. Johan silently calculated in his heart. Compared to the prosecutor, the cameraman has a deeper purpose. Before finding this person, he still needs the prosecutor's help. Johan immediately threw away the tweezers and acted miserable, crying that life in prison was too miserable. That's why he suddenly lost direction and doubted the prosecutor. The prosecutor loosely hugged Johan and promised that he would definitely find a way to get him out of prison, but Johan's face turned cold. Now he no longer trusts anyone. Time goes back 5 days ago. Johan has just started Jun Seo's special training. He was uncomfortably thrown into the curly-haired man's cell to face trial, but could only endure the battle for the time being. Jun Suk looked at Johan's face full of wounds and couldn't bear it, so he personally applied the spice to him. Meanwhile, Jun Suk asked Johan a favor. He suspected that prisoner Def, teacher Nam, had embezzled his money, so he asked Johan to find his black book of secret notes. Meanwhile, Sozian has begun an investigation into the military police's disappearance. Through his wife's story, she learned that before leaving forever, the military police bought a cell phone and a camera. Sozian and her female police colleague immediately went to the camera shop, but unfortunately yesterday someone had already bought it. At first, the photo shop owner refused to reveal more information, until Sozian had to use her wide connections to get the buyer's information. Before entering the karaoke room, where the buyer was staying, Sozian still kept in contact with the female police officer on the phone. She told her to pay attention to the situation and if there was danger, come in. As soon as he entered the door, Sozian saw the camera. Just as she was about to take it, a man dressed in black and wearing a mask suddenly came in and attacked her. At this moment, the female police officer also rushed in to fight with the man in black. They finally chased the audience away. Johan still remembers the mission assigned by Jun Seo-op. He carefully observed every action of teacher Nam. He discovered that he always took advantage of employees' meals to bring finished newspapers into the office. Johan speculated that this was a way to cover people's eyes and that the real purpose was probably to hide the books. That day, Johan took advantage of the office being empty and barged in. Just as he was searching the bookshelves, teacher Nam walked in. Johan's heart seemed to jump into his throat, but Mr. Nam easily let him go. It was only after Johan had left that he took out the real notebook and began destroying it. Apparently he realized that Johan's strange actions were to investigate him. Returning to his cell, Johan quickly fell asleep. He dreamed that many people wrapped foil around his head, almost suffocating him. Johan suddenly woke up. He quickly looked in the mirror to check the injuries on his body. That dream was so real that Johan began to doubt whether it was really just a dream or not. That day Sozian came to visit Johan. As soon as he left the cell, he encountered Mr. Nam's subordinates at the casino. All of their faces had a smile full of meaning, making Johan unconsciously take advantage of him. Johan suddenly remembered the scene in his dream of being stabbed by an onion and realized that it was not a dream at all. Teacher Nam really took action against him. During this meeting, Sozian gave Johan a video from the military police camera, which showed the prosecutor carrying her body. After the visit, Johan went to Mr. Nam's place to study again. Teacher Nam brought out a glass of strange liquid and asked Johan to drink it. After drinking, he turned away without saying another word. Johan asked Teacher Nam why he hated him so much. Teacher Nam replied that it was because Johan's mouth was full of lies and then asked him who the VIP guest who often visited him was. Johan replied that he was his business partner, but Mr. Nam just chuckled. At this moment Johan felt dizzy. He looked at the glass of water he had just drunk and realized that Teacher Nam had left him behind. Johan tried to use what little sense he had left. Good slowly crawled out the door to ask for help, but as soon as he opened the door, Teacher Nam locked him tightly. Out of the corner of his eye, Rohan felt Mr. Nam raise his foot and stomp hard on his head. Not long after, a prison guard carried the seriously injured Rohan to the medical room. His heart stopped beating at one point and the situation was extremely critical. What's more desperate is that after Rohan was saved, Mr. Nam was still sitting calmly right next to him. Then, in a gentle tone, he said that he would not let Rohan go forever so easily. He advised Johan to return to the place where he belonged because this place was not suitable for him. The knight advised Johan to wake up in the hospital bed, so he used the phone in the office to call the prosecutor to inform him that he had found the video. However, this is just an excuse. Johan wanted to call the prosecutor to ask directly about his connection to her forever passing. But as soon as he hung up, Mr. Naam walked in and pressed the callback button. However, no one answered that phone number. It turned out that Johan discovered Mr. Naam standing outside the door through the screen of the medical equipment next to the hospital bed. Immediately after ending the call, he quickly dialed another number to save a fake phone number. Teacher Naam asked Johan who he had called, but he refused to say a word. The prosecutor quickly arrived at the prison. On the way, Johan used the excuse of needing to change the gauze on his forehead to go to the medical room. Who would have thought that Teacher Naam was waiting there, holding tweezers in one hand, a tape recorder in the other, and asked Johan what he needed. Time returned to the present. Prosecutor Two-Min Own Johan decided to temporarily not wait to meet him. Besides, keeping the prosecutor is still beneficial to you. Today is also the day Chairman Jang comes to prison. He kindly comes to meet Jun Suk. The prison director also heard rumors that Jun Suk and Chairman Jang seem to have had a grudge in the past. So the director of the prison told Jun Seo over and over again, today absolutely not to get angry and cause trouble. Otherwise he has to be gentle and bear it. As Chairman Jang finished speaking, he walked into the director's office. He came in like that, and as soon as we met, he mentioned the story of the prison director giving him disinfectant water and then taking over the prison casino he built. This place was originally a gold mine for President Jang, but just because of a glass of disinfectant water, it went up in smoke. At this time, Chairman Jang suddenly saw Jun Suk. He suddenly changed the subject and told about how in Joseon there was a man who was greatly loved by the king, and this man's status was even higher than that of an evil minister. This person usually looks extremely majestic but is actually just a eunuch. Jun Suk gritted his teeth. He knew that President Jang's story was to seduce him, that even if he was a storm in prison, he should not forget the truth that in the past it was Chairman Jang who castrated him. Jun Seo tried to smile and use sarcastic words to retort Chairman Jang, but his hands were hidden behind his back, almost wanting to scratch his flesh. Elsewhere, Soyeon continues to investigate the military police with her female police colleague. They discovered he had a phone registered to his wife's name and the location of the last call was at a rental house. Soyeon and the female police officer began searching the house's belongings, discovering many traces of a child. In the pocket of a set of clothes drying, they also found a restaurant coupon. EXO Zian came to this restaurant and found a boy. The boy was holding that same phone in his hand. EXO Zian asked the boy if he knew her, but the boy was very wary and took the opportunity to go to the bathroom and ran away from the restaurant. At the end of the visit, on the way back, the prosecutor was also thinking about who recorded the video. Since receiving the text message leading him to Johan's grandmother, he began investigating the phone number. Following the clues, he found another phone number that regularly contacted the number sending the messages. The prosecutor intentionally went to Chief Eun's office and called the second phone number. Sure enough, he discovered it belonged to Department Head Eun. At this point, the truth is too clear. It was Department Head Eun who sent someone to record this video to separate him and Johan. The next thing is to quickly find out who directly recorded the video. That night, Johan called Sozian to believe that the person who recorded the video was likely the murderer who harmed her. Do Zian neither confirmed nor denied this, but she mentioned another clue. That was the boy at the restaurant. The military police rented another room precisely to hide this child. Furthermore, the boy seemed to know her. The boy could be the key to finding the culprit. After Johan returned to the cell, Mr. Naam asked him to show the tape recorder right in front of Jun Zeok. It turned out that before going to meet the prosecutor, Mr. Naam gave Johan both tweezers and a voice recorder. He was then asked to record the conversation with the prosecutor, but when Jun Seo checked inside, there were no recordings. Teacher Rohan did not accept his supervision. Teacher Naam finally offered his cards to Jun Seo. He thinks Rohan is too suspicious to keep. Jun Seo was also very awkward, but at this time he still hadn't gotten Teacher Naam's black book, so he couldn't completely turn on him. He had no choice but to obey Master Naam's wishes to execute Rohan. Under pressure from Teacher Naam, Jun Seo was forced to arrest Rohan, but he knew he had to protect Rohan, because Jun Seo-ok promised President Jang that a month later there would be a 2-2 duel, in which his teammate must be Johan. After lightly torturing Jun Seo-ok, he spared Johan. In return for saving his life, Jun Seo-ok needed Johan to help him with something. Jun Seo-ok also carries a hatred no less than Johan's, which is to harm those who sent him to prison. With only 3 weeks left until his appointment with Chairman Jang, Jun Seo-ok is preparing to personally train Johan in the tricks of playing black and white. However, Jun Seo is not at all compatible like teacher Nam. He taught Johan a lot of skills and encouraged him. Combined with Johan's inherent intelligence, in just a few short days he made great progress. Johan couldn't help but wonder how long it took Jun Seo to learn these tricks. Jun Seo replied that it was only about 2 hours. However, a skilled person like Jun Seo in the past still lost to Chairman Zhang at the red and black table. At that time, Jun Seo was still just a henchman in Chairman Zhang's casino. The two often cooperated in cheating to win other people's money, but Jun Seo's ambition grew bigger and bigger, so he no longer wanted to continue following President Zhang. During a card game, Jun Seo did not cooperate with Chairman Zhang, causing him to lose all his money, which was also an official declaration of the separation between the two. The two then participated in an extreme match where the loser would have to give up all of their red and black power in Seoul. Jun Seo's extravagance made President Zhang furious, but the truth proved that Jun Seo that year was indeed too young and impulsive. He did not have a strong trump card in his hand, but just wanted to use psychological blows to scare President Zhang into withdrawing. It's just a pity that Ban Ko was still immature, so President Zhang saw through it. He lost that game. The price to pay was that Chairman Zhang personally castrated Jun Seo, causing him to live his whole life in prison. After learning about Jun Seo's past, Zhou Heng tried harder to practice the red and black Ban Ko. Finally, he was recognized by Jun Seo and officially graduated. Then the day of the fateful poll game arrived. Chairman Zhang came with great spirit and was followed by a whole legal team. Once he wins, they will immediately take over the prison casino. The poll game begins. President Zhang and his female teammates sit at the table. Jun Seo and Rohan agreed on the types of signals to exchange. Jun Seo then reminded Rohan not to bet too much and try to act cautiously like a novice. Thus, Chairman Zhang will notice Johan's confusion, think that he is just an inexperienced dreamer and relax his guard. The game continues for a few more rounds. Suddenly, Johan's face changed and Jun Suk exchanged glances. This is when they are about to perform the prepared drama. It was Johan's turn to shuffle the cards, but he deliberately did it very clumsily. With forced movements, you could tell at a glance that he was hiding the cards. This fraud full of loopholes could not completely escape Chairman Zhang's eyes. He immediately snatched Johan's hand. This action surprised everyone around. But at that moment, Jun Seo turned to threaten Chairman Zhang's female teammate, asking her to hand over the card hidden in her sleeve. She had no choice but to shake off the card. At this time, everyone knew that President Zhang and his teammates had cheated. Meanwhile, Johan's hands are completely clean. Chairman Zhang now realized that Johan had pretended to be a novice the whole time to deliberately create a fraudulent fraud. The intention was for Chairman Zhang to only focus on finding an opportunity to expose him, without noticing that Jun Seo was also watching every move of that female teammate. Jun Seo's condition is to make him sign a commitment to give up the casino in prison. Then he will spare his female teammate. Although extremely bitter, President Zhang could only follow suit and leave prison in E-Tray. After that, Jun Seo explained to Johan that he was just using him as a pawn. From the beginning, Guy's goal was to catch his female teammates cheating, so that he could threaten President Zhang and not ruin the image of Johan as still a novice. Waiting for Johan to be released from prison, he can still use this identity to continue playing red and black with Jun Seo OK to help him carry out his revenge plan. Even though he was put inside for so long, Johan was not angry at all. On the contrary, I feel that this is a very good plan, and the two will continue to coordinate like this in the future. Suddenly a month had passed, and that day Johan woke up to discover that Jun Seo OK's cell was empty. It turned out that today was the day he was released from prison. Johan discovered a red decoration on the windowsill. That was the item Jun Suk left him. Elsewhere, So Sion continues to investigate the relationship between the boy and the military police. So Sion commented that it was very possible that the boy was a witness in her case. After Jun Suk left, Mr. Nam was eager to become a big brother, so he tried his best to kill Johan, not hesitating to use a higher rate to bribe the head of security and the prison director to get everyone to accept him. After a while of searching, Mr. Nam finally met Johan in the VIP room. Johan knows that Teacher Nam still doubts him. Mr. Ben asked if he revealed his secret. Would Teacher Nam accept him? Teacher Nam immediately laughed and replied that it was impossible. However, when he heard Johan claim to be an insider, he was surprised beyond words. To verify, he returned to the medical room and used the phone number Johan provided to call the prosecutor. Seemingly understanding Johan's meaning, The prosecutor immediately replied that he was Johan's superior and asked Mr. Nam not to hinder his actions. At this time, the prosecutor also investigated that the person who showed Johan the video was Sozian and suspected that she was also the person who recorded the video. Even though Johan's insider status was confirmed, Mr. Nam still did not accept him. Finally, Johan proposed that as long as he became the big brother, he would share all of Jun Suk's love with teacher Nam and his subordinates. Finally, with the promise of money, Mr. Nam knelt at Johan's feet and acknowledged his status. Johan accepts everything to sit in Jun Seo's position, precisely because he wants to take advantage of the frontline casino to approach the elite in politics and business, then use their relationship to investigate the secret about the boy's father. That evening, Johan received a prison pass. He wore a black suit and ran out of the prison in the rain. After becoming the boss of the casino in prison, Johan aimed for the most luxurious prison complex called the Tien Cave. According to Jun Seo, the people who live here are all hidden pythons. Even though they have lost their luck, they still have the ability to transcend heaven. Therefore, Johan wanted to see with his own eyes how strong the people living in the immortal cave were. Johan found the prison director and lied that he had received news from his superiors outside that he needed to go to the Tien Cave. The prison director believed it was true, so he led Johan to the gate of the Tien Cave and went inside alone to make the announcement. It was like my heart wanted to flow in but was stopped by the old man. He reminded, "Johan, cherish your life and don't step foot in this world." At that moment, the prison director appeared and gave his last respects to Mr. Lao. Johan now knew he had met a big character. Mr. Old Prisoner is Mr. Lao, the boss of the gangster in Gangnam. Sozian happened to be somewhat acquainted with Lao Du. She tried to bring gold to beg Lao Du to lead Johan into the world of the fairy cave but was refused. When Sozian left the prison, she was secretly photographed by Ji San's men. Ji San has always been investigating the person who helped Johan, but did not expect that it was just a shopkeeper. That day, at an event at the children's camp, a Sozian lady saw the boy's silhouette, but because the minister's people weren't following her, she couldn't get close. She had to call Johan to let him think of a solution. Johan decides to borrow the power of the fairy cave. While managing the casino's funds, he soon discovered an account that regularly transferred large sums of money to the director for unknown reasons. Johan stole the fund books and discovered that after each large sum of money, there were notes with some confusing numbers. Johan didn't understand what they meant, but Mr. Nam, a financial criminal, immediately recognized it as a stock code. Thanks to that, Johan was able to easily investigate two corresponding corporations. Next, Johan and his subordinates found another prisoner. It turns out that every day the prison director receives money, this prisoner will make a trip to the fairy cave. His teacher refused to confess that Johan had used cruel torture. Late at night, Old Joe came uninvited and asked Johan to release the other prisoner. It turned out that every time the jail director received money from those two corporations, big things happened. Either the chairman is arrested or the CEO leaves home forever. Apparently someone in prison gave instructions. Old Joe's appearance proved that he was the mastermind. On the condition of releasing the prisoner, Johan asked Lao Joe to help him find the boy. Old Gio thought for a while and then told Johan to take a leave of absence to help him with something. The next day, Johan received permission to take leave. He went to the designated location to pick up an envelope and prepare to deliver it to Lao Gio's subordinates. Who would have thought that the subordinate was controlled by a guy at the casino? Johan had to counterattack and then took the opportunity to lead his subordinates to escape. The road was extremely dangerous, but luckily Sozian and her female police colleague were behind us. They called a patrol team to shake hands with the other person. With Rohan having to go into the classroom to search, after finding the boy, he encountered the other brother and sister, merging the two forces of Sozian and Chairman Zhang. As soon as that guy was arrested, Chairman Zhang sent his juniors to rob him. While restraining him, Rohan was able to put a positioning device into his pocket. Thanks to that, he was able to track the location to the blind orphanage. Without saying much, he and Rohan immediately started fighting. At the crucial moment, the boy made a big move and used a burning urn to knock out the other brother's hand. Next, the two quickly left the orphanage. After hiding in the parking lot, Johan asked Sozian for help, but Minister Hong's supervision was like a shadow, so Sozian could not leave. As the other man's footsteps got closer and closer, Johann had no choice but to tell Sosian to bring the whole group of supervisors. Sosian immediately got on the car and drove behind and immediately followed. In the parking lot, the boy whispered to Johann that he agreed to help him, so he asked Johann to also save his father. And someone exchanged identities with the boy's father, and that person was the perpetrator who harmed her. At this time, Johann received a text message informing him that Sosian was coming, so he immediately led the boy toward the exit. Unexpectedly, a car sped by. When Johann turned around, the boy had disappeared, leaving only a puddle that resembled the front of the car. A man got out of the car and demanded that Johann hand over the envelope. Johann recognized this person. Sosian once said that he is Chairman Zhang's brother and the real leader of the gang. He is extremely dangerous, and if you encounter him, you must run away. At that moment, Sosian's car also arrived, picking up Rohan and accidentally hitting his brother. Who would have thought that his physical condition was extremely good? He immediately got up from the ground, jumped onto Sosian's car and started breaking the windows. Faced with his crazy stalking, Sosian could only press as hard as he could and use speed to cut it in half. After the car left the parking lot, Ji-san's car followed and did not let go. To force Sosian's car to stop, they even turned on the siren. Unexpectedly, after stopping Ji-san's car, he discovered that Johann had already gotten out of the car in the middle of the road. The person sitting next to Sosian had changed to a female police colleague. That night, Johann returned to the prison and reported today's situation to Old Joe. But Old Joe didn't care about Envelope or the boy who was gone forever. He was just afraid that Ji-san would go to prison and find him causing trouble. The old man warned Johann not to say he had met him, so he returned to Sosian's cell and called to inform him that the boy had been taken to the hospital. She called the hospital anonymously to report the boy, so the police began looking for his father. Today's encounter with his brother made Johann deeply feel his fear. Sosian admitted that the two brothers had relied on cruel tricks to climb up. From thugs selling fake goods on the street, they have one step become the big boss of the gang. After that, the Zhang brothers relied on more powerful sponsors in the casino. Finally, eliminate Lao Du to become the new managers. Lao Du was also sent to prison by those same sponsors. That night, Chairman Zhang and Ji-san and department head Ian met. From the information Ji-san investigated about Sosian going in and out of prison, they concluded that Lao Du was using Rohan for revenge. But Chairman Zhang was a bit hesitant because the force behind Lao Du was not only him but also those in the fairy cave. This place gathered all the powerful sponsors when Lao Zhou was still managing the casino. Their status is not rich, but also luxurious. Even though he hated Lao Zhou and Johann to the core, Department Head Un also felt that now was not the time to take action, especially when today a boy was murdered. Wait until public opinion calms down, then deal with the people in prison later. Late at night, Johann logged into an account on his computer. The boy once said that using this account he could contact his father. As Johann was viewing the content in his account, he suddenly saw something horrifying. He fell off the computer and stood still in the dark for a long time, unable to calm down. It wasn't until he regained his composure that he called Sosian. Even though Department Head Un asked everyone to temporarily stay still, Ji-san couldn't wait any longer. He investigated and found out that the prison director and Jun Seub had made money in prison, accepting bribes to contact insiders in prison. But Johann had already prepared, so as soon as the insider appeared, he was restrained by the prison guards. But he didn't expect that the professor who was kicked out of the organization by Jun Suk would take the opportunity. He secretly contacted Ji-san, willing to serve him on the condition that he completely destroy Johann. And the professor worked as a spy one night, so Ji-san suddenly led a large team of prosecutors to inspect the prison's release. The prison casino immediately fell into chaos. Luckily, Mr. Nam remained calm and directed the gamblers to retreat slowly and then boarded the waiting bridge car to leave. Johann quickly burned all the chip tables and books, destroying all evidence. When the goat hunt arrived, it certainly didn't yield anything, but that didn't matter. Goat Hunter took this opportunity to purge the entire prison. Han took away the director of the prison, the head of the security department and the casino's core figures, and replaced them with a new management team. Male teacher Johann and the others who lost protection also had to move from the comfortable hospital room in the medical area back to regular cells. As a former trader, Johann, as soon as he returned to his cell, was lectured by a Big Brothers Junior. But fortunately, Jun Suk had previously trained his fighting ability. Facing the aggressive crowd, Johann was not weak. At the last moment, Johan unleashed a fake blow that caused a junior to accidentally harm his big brother. Under the testimony of his juniors, the crime of harming others was pinned on Johan. He was handcuffed and brought before the new prison director. Johan wanted to clear his name, so he suggested checking the knife for fingerprints, but the new director had no intention of doing so. After the prison management was changed, G.San came to ask. The prison was now under Han's control. Originally, Johan only needed to stay in prison for a few more months to be released, but after this trap, I'm afraid he will have to spend a very long time in prison. Hearing that, Johan asked to see his lawyer. In fact, meeting the lawyer was just an excuse for him to want to go to the VIP meeting room to meet Lao Joe. Johan hopes that Old Joe can help him arrange everything. Old Joe asked Johan to become his man. After being released from prison, he had to help him harm someone and then come back. Only when he agreed to this condition did Lao Joe take action to stop Du-Wei-san's persecution, but this request was really excessive. Johan could never harm others because of Old Joe, so he angrily left the meeting room. Returning to his cell, Johan began to recall the horrifying scene he had seen in the boy's account. The man in black and mask who attacked him was Junseo. But at this moment, Johan was not even worried. He was about to be transferred to another prison to serve his sentence. Johan asked for help from both the prosecutor and Sozian, but neither of them had any way to help him escape this fate. Sozian advised Johan to agree to his request, because as long as he could stay, there was still hope for the time being. Just as Johan was about to get on the bus, he turned around and saw an illusion of a boy appearing behind him. Feeling guilty towards the boy, Johan cried and crawled to the old man's feet, begging him to accept him. Teacher Johan woke up at the last minute and still did not have an old man patting him on the shoulder as a response. Right after that, Old Ro pleaded with a mysterious old man in the fairy cave, asking him to use his connections to arrange for Johan to be released from prison on time. In return, Larogio promised to eliminate Chairman Zhang's brothers, regain control of the casino and continue accumulating wealth for the elders in the fairy cave. Hearing that, the mysterious old man only needed to prompt a phone call to easily cancel Johan's command to run. Not long after Johan was released from prison, he still carried the mission of harming others assigned by Old Gio. The main target is the boy's father, Mr. Wu. The moment he leaves the prison, the card game in Johan's heart will truly begin. He will sit in the dealer's position, inviting each of the last guys to come to the door table in turn. The first person to appear was Old Joe, and it turned out that Johan being forced to bow before Old Joe was completely a drama set up by him. Since knowing that the masked corpse was Junseo, Johan understood that he was Lao Joe's man, because only Lao Joe had a way to get parole in prison. The fact that Junseo harmed Mrs. Hai and attacked him in the karaoke room was actually an order from Old Joe. Johan wants to know why Old Joe is targeting him. Elsewhere, the isolated prosecutor at the prosecutor's office came up with a way to continue investigating the person who recorded a video of him pretending to submit to Department Head Yule. Chief Yule, who had signed up to test the prosecutor's sincerity, suggested that as long as Johan could be dealt with, he would accept the prosecutor as one of his own. At this time, Sozian took Johan to his house. The fried glass window was filled with diagrams of the relationships of everyone, from the judiciary to the gods, from the President Jiang brothers to Mr. Wu. The relationship network of each organization is clearly visible. Sozian also took out the only photo of herself and her mother, and told about the reason she wanted to report to Department Head Yule. That year, Sozian's mother worked at a nightclub and was caught up in a big scam. Not only was she made a mastermind by the king, but she was also killed by underground forces that harmed others. Luckily, before leaving forever, her mother left behind evidence exposing the truth. Sozian wanted to help her mother get justice but trusted the wrong lawyer. The lawyer turned around and handed the evidence to Department Head Eun. Sozian, when she was young, was also sold into a nightclub to serve as a drinking girl. After listening to Sozian's story, Rohan looked at the photos on the window and determined that in the future he would definitely destroy them one by one. The next day, Rohan met the skinny lawyer sent by his boss. Rohan had a watch on his hand so Lao Du could track him. The two discovered the scope of Mr. Yu's activities and quickly coordinated to capture and harm him. In prison, Lao Du knew that Rohan had stopped harming Mr. Yu and was extremely satisfied. In fact, Lao Du was no longer willing to serve the sponsors in the Tien Cave anymore. When Mr. Yu is gone forever, there will be no one left in charge of money laundering for casinos in Korea. Lao Du wants to take this opportunity to join forces with Lawyer Go to steal the slush funds of the big men in the Tien Cave. Johan was just a pawn that he had arranged in advance. After Mr. Wu left, the big men no longer had anyone in charge of money laundering. Trung and Chairman Zhang are pressured to quickly resolve the problem. Otherwise, they cannot bear the huge amount of assets that evaporate every day from the casino. That day, Johann received a second order from Old Ro to go to a casino called Goman to play, but if he won or lost, he had to follow Old Ro's instructions. Falling out of prison, Johann went to a private place to meet Sozian. Next to her there is another man, that is the real Mr. Yu. That day, to protect Mr. Yu, Johann found a body to receive a fake price to deceive Old Man. Not only that, Johann also convinced lawyer Go to drug him. He will help edit the wiretapping content in the watch so that Johann hides the truth. It turns out that Johann discovers that Old Ro once ordered Jun Seo to assassinate lawyer Go. Lawyer Go only needed to think for a moment to guess the reason why Old Man wanted to harm him, so he agreed to cooperate with Johann. Mr. Yu told Johann that when he and the boy were cornered by Jun Seo, they had to change places to hide because the military police came. After changing to a new location, Mr. Yu took the opportunity to release the boy and told him to find military police for protection. Mr. Yu did not know what happened after that. He only knew that after he escaped, the military police could no longer be found. Because Zion speculated that the person who harmed the military police was most likely also Jun Seo, Johann returned to see lawyer Go and received a stack of documents. Inside is a stack of papers transferring shares of companies belonging to Chairman Zhang's gang. They all list Johann as the owner. Johann immediately understood why old Joe forced him to go to the Goman casino. That is to use red and black to weaken President Zhang's power. But lawyer Go told him not to think too much and just do as requested. At this time, Johann exposed lawyer Go's real boss. In fact, he does not work for old Joe but represents deep and unpredictable forces in the fairy cave. That's why he agreed to cooperate with Johann. Either way, the two see him as a rival and form a temporary alliance. Through playing red and black, Johann easily signed the share transfer. At this time, there was shocking news from President Zhang. They are preparing to open a VIP room in a luxurious penthouse above the casino on the day the company goes public. President Zhang has sent an invitation to Sozian and also wants to call Johann. It turns out that President Zhang has always lusted after Sozian and was dissatisfied with her being too close to Johann. But this opportunity, Chairman Zhang let the dome-haired guy out of prison so he could deal with Johann. That night when Johann finished the poll game and returned, he was surrounded by a group of people. Luckily, at the critical moment, lawyer Go arrived in time, not only saving Johann but also taking photos of all his followers, including the silhouette of the prosecutor. To get approval from the department head, the prosecutor began the act of assassinating Johann. After Mr. Uzada left, old Joe contacted department head Un and another senior minister to seek support. To repay Mr. Joe, he would take over President Zhang's brother's company and offer it as a gift. Manager Un's heart was shaken. That day, Johann was playing red and black at Goman Casino when the curly-haired guy suddenly approached. He threw down an invitation to the VIP room and told Johann to come there. This is the most exciting casino in all of Korea. The news quickly reached old Joe, so he immediately met Johann, told him to cooperate with Jun Suk again in the VIP casino to win back a huge amount of money for himself. Johann's heart is in turmoil because Jun Suk is the one who harmed his grandmother. Leaving prison, Johann met Jun Suk. Even though the enemy is right before his eyes, Johann can only suppress and continue to play the role of someone who does not know the truth. The day Chairman Zhang's company went public, a series of high-class and noble figures entered the VIP room. Johann just sat down and started winning big in a short time, winning 700 million coins. But Chairman Zhang didn't care at all because tonight he wanted to harm Johann. So no matter how much money he won, he still had no life to take it away. President Zhang came to sit at Johann's table. In the following games, Johann's trump cards were always bigger than Chairman Zhang's. Not long after, he began to impatiently realize that Johann was cheating and that there was definitely a coordinator on the table. Chairman Zhang glanced at the gamblers to guess who was Johann's teammate. Soon, Chairman Zhang guessed that the person coordinating with Johann was Chairman Seo. At the table, Chairman Zio, like the old man, is also a veteran Korean redneck, in addition to being the only survivor during the time when President Zhang brothers were in power. Johann promised that if he cooperated with him, he would take over Chairman Zhang's company and give it to him. At this time, Johann's wealth was growing larger and reached 6 billion troops. He told President Zhang that if you want to follow the poll, you should bet on this VIP casino worth 8 billion. Chairman Zhang was provoked by Johann's hubris and decided to play to the end. The 2-on-2 poll game finally begins. Chairman Zhang secretly cheated and revealed a beautiful trump card. Johan suddenly opened his eyes wide and stared at President Zhang. Who would have thought that Johan would be even more skilled? Your trump card is just 1 point bigger than President Zhang's. Johan immediately laughed loudly and said, from now on I am the owner of this place. Outside the casino, Teacher Nam conveniently met Jun Suk. Jun Seok's original plan was to go around the parking lot and wait for Director Jin, the money manager, to appear and then take him away. However, Director Jin never appeared. Jun Seok was so upset that he jumped out of the car and ran to another highway with a surveillance camera. At that moment, Director Jin arrived at the parking lot but was quickly taken away by the prosecutor and his men. After arresting Director Jin, the prosecutor immediately sent a message to Seo Jaeon. And had to see if she was Johan's cheating accomplice. At the crucial moment, Sozian pulled out a gun and shot President Zhang in the leg. Then the two changed into serving clothes, hid the injured President Zhang in a food cart and then put it in a corner of the hotel's warehouse. But Chairman Zhang's subordinates quickly received the news and immediately surrounded and chased Sozian in the hotel. As soon as Sozian had no way to escape, the electricity connection suddenly collapsed after a month of darkness. Sozian disappeared without a trace. The person behind helping her unexpectedly was the guy at the casino. It turned out that when he was ordered by Chairman Zhang's brother to hide him, Johan promptly came to save him. Johan promised that after everything was over he would hand over Chairman Zhang's gang to him to manage, in exchange for his alliance. The subordinates finally saved Chairman Jiang in the warehouse. After being rescued, he immediately ordered the arrest of Johan, Jun, Suk, and Seo Hyun. Chairman Zhang's brother was in the bathroom when he received news that Director Jin had been kidnapped. He was about to go save him when Johan blocked the door and the two rushed to fight. Johan is not his opponent, but he and Sozian have already prepared. They bought dozens of his subordinates and put powerful anesthetic spices in his body. Soon the crazy brother collapsed to the ground. Sozian has met with the prosecutor and is trying to decode Director Jin's slush fund password. Johan told her not to let the prosecutor know the password. Sozian had to be wary of the prosecutor while secretly remembering the password and reporting it to Johan. Because transferring money required the physical appearance of Director Jin or his brother, Johan took advantage of the time he was not completely unconscious to open his eyes to log into the account. He transferred the entire huge amount of money into an account set up in the boy's name right in front of him, as if to let him take the blame for harming the boy. Unable to catch Director Jin, Jun Seup frustratedly returned to the car. Who would have thought that as soon as he got in the car, Mr. Nam used anesthetic spices to gag his mouth. At this time, a police car approached Mr. Nam and immediately got out and ran away. The police discovered that the unconscious person was Jun Seok, who was wanted. After dealing with Chairman Zhang, Johan had to hide from the gang's pursuit but accidentally fell into Ji-san's trap. However, Ji-san did not make it difficult for him because the lawyer had previously given the entire amount of the company that Johan won from Red and Black to the prosecutor's side. Director Jin went to a remote place and let him go. Because if we continue to keep her, the whereabouts of all three will easily be revealed. They just need to keep her phone to continue decoding the account password. The prosecutor, who was deceived without realizing it, immediately took Director Jin away. At this time, his brother received a phone call from Johan. He agreed to return the slush fund in exchange for Jun Seo. Johan successfully took Jun Seo out of the clutches of the two Chairman Zhang brothers but stuffed him into the trunk of the car and brought a glass. It wasn't until he was safe that his brother discovered that the money in Johan's phone had already been transferred to his own account. The two brothers were so angry that they felt like they were being manipulated by Johan. After smoothly receiving the money, Johan and Sozian looked at each other and smiled. Next, Johan will begin handling Jun Suk to get more testimony from his mouth. After that, Johan took Jun Suk to Sozian's house and played the video recorded by the boy. He turned on a recording pen and asked him if he had harmed his grandmother. Rohan didn't want to hear the truth but just Jun Seo's testimony, because he had verified it from many sides. There is no doubt that Jun Seo did not intentionally harm others, but Jun Seo still stubbornly refused, saying that a child's words were not trustworthy. Moreover, it is gone forever and cannot be verified now. Based on just one video, he cannot admit guilt. Even though he was arrested, Jun Seo's nature is still a cunning and dangerous man. While denying the crime, he also released a lot of disturbing information. He mentioned the military police dying forever at the hands of the prosecutor and the secret in T1's USB. He threatens Johan that once he is gone forever, there will be many more mysteries that cannot be known. Taking advantage of Johan's distraction, Jun Seo immediately used his finger to press hard on the wound on his leg. He wanted to use this method to force Johan to take him to the hospital for treatment. At this time in prison, Laro Jo was about to undergo craniotomy for a brain tumor. Johan suddenly called to say that he had taken the slush fund. Old Joe, who was holding the week a second ago, was immediately overjoyed as if he could live another 50 years. But as soon as the roof was finished, Laro Jo told Lawyer Go to find 2 people because it was time to deal with Johan. However, Lawyer Go soon allied himself with Johan. He immediately took Johan to meet the real elders in the fairy cave. Johan wants to convince the elders to abandon Old Joe so that he can take his place. When an old man asked Johan the purpose of doing so, he tearfully gritted his teeth and said that because his enemies also included people from the Ministry of Justice, Johan wants to personally send Minister Hong and Department Head Yuan to prison. Besides, you don't need anything in return. The elders looked at each other and seemed very satisfied. There's nothing better than having someone who doesn't need money and is willing to do real work to replace Old Joe. However, the corner of Johan's mouth curled up into a smile. The pain and hatred on his face just now was clearly an act. After Johan left, Lawyer Go immediately took Old Joe to a deserted suburb. Jun Seo was also brought here from a hospital. Old Gio was blinded on the stretcher and couldn't move. Jun Suk's wound, although bandaged, was still very weak. He described the two at this moment as completely like lambs waiting to be slaughtered, not knowing what misfortune was waiting for them. Lawyer Go sent the address of this place to Chairman Zhang, informing him that Lao Jio had been fired by the gods, leaving his life to be handled by him. At the same time, he also told Jun Suk the truth. 14 years ago Chairman Zhang saw Jun Suk's red and black talent and wanted to adopt him, but Jun Seo K's father offered too high a price, so Chairman Zhang framed him and tricked Jun Seo K into thinking he was an abandoned child. After deliberately arousing Jun Seo K's hatred, the lawyer undressed him and gave him a surgical knife. He returned to the car to eavesdrop on the conversation between Jun Seo K and Old Gio. Who would have thought that Jun Seo K did not completely dump all his hatred on President Zhang's head but instead began to blame Lao Gio. He now slowly approached and wanted to personally harm Old Gio, but before he could do anything, Jun Seo fainted because he had lost too much. Not long after President Zhang arrived and took Lao Gio and Jun Seo away, Jun Seo was thrown into the furnace and burned alive by Chairman Zhang's subordinates. Having done these things, the lawyer took out his phone and intentionally revealed Sozian's home address to Chairman Zhang's brother's subordinates. The older brother thought that the enemy was about to be announced and immediately led his henchmen into Sozian's house. But it was discovered that the hunting goat had brought more people along to ambush him here, just waiting to catch him red-handed so that he could make an emergency arrest. The older brother, who relied on Department Head Euler's support, is still waiting for his superiors to give him orders so that the Ministry of Justice can once again pave the way for him. Who would have thought that the corporation had given up on Han, after negotiations between the senior management of Macau Casino and the elders in the Fairy Cave. They appointed Johan to replace his brother's position as casino manager for the Korean region. This news is extremely unfavorable for Minister Hong and Chief Un because of what they did to Johan in the past. They began to fear that he would take advantage of the casino's power to take revenge. After being appointed, Johan led a group of teammates to loudly take over Chairman Zhang's company. Even though he sat in a high position, someone reminded him that he should never have a new place in the old place. If you only worry about pleasing the casino board or the fairy cave and ignore another sponsor who holds a third of the slush fund, that sponsor will definitely find a way to harm Rohan. Rohan nodded, then walked towards the casino manager's chair and sat down firmly on the left. In this struggle, the ministers of the procuracy chose to betray the fraud brothers. However, later, when Department Head Un and others asked for credit, the other side replied that there was nothing right now. The reason is because after the casino management changed, they still haven't laundered any money, so there's no excess grease to split. Head of department Un smirked, thinking that this was a face blow that Johan gave him. Previously, Johan was harmed by officials like Department Head Un and had to go to jail. Now, when he has power, how can he be so generous as to share the benefits with these people? Manager Un said that if Johan didn't respect the ability to cooperate, then he wouldn't tolerate it anymore. That same evening, he sent prosecutors and police to the casino for a ridiculous reason to take Johan away. Before being arrested, Johan gave his phone to Sozian. At the same time, He gestured in front of the surveillance camera, indicating that Mr. Nam should call the prosecutor. Johan was taken to the prosecutor's office and personally interrogated by Chief Oon. Head of Department Oon kept asking Johan. He wanted to know how much he had investigated about her forever passing and did he know who was pursuing him? Johan answered truthfully that he had discovered that the person who harmed her was Jun Seo, one of the old man's henchmen, and the person pursuing him is the prosecutor. Johan's acting skills once again flourished. He looked pitiful and said that everything he did was to take revenge and protect life. If there is anything wrong with the prosecution, it is also unwilling. But the head of E.on doesn't care that much. He only cares about the investment and the money he lost. Johan smiled because it seemed like he had prepared in advance. He immediately offered to recruit the head of E.on as a sponsor and said that he could open a separate account for him. 2.5% of the total money laundered each time will flow into his pocket. Head of E.on thought for a moment. Seeing that this was a huge fortune, he immediately agreed with Johan. At this moment, all resentments will disappear before the power of money. Johan and E.on department head shook hands to cooperate. Then he let Ji-san take him away. At this time, the prosecutor went to the interrogation room of Chairman Zhang's brother. He knows his brother is now isolated as both the prosecutor and the casino have abandoned him. The prosecutor took the opportunity to entice him and even let him use his phone to contact Chairman Zhang. When President Zhang received his brother's phone call, he was extremely emotional. The older brother told President Zhang not to act rashly but to temporarily hide for a while. As long as you are still alive, you will have a chance to turn the situation around. However, the old man next to President Zhang continuously incited him to counterattack and said that he was also ready to withdraw his hand. Elsewhere, So Xian sees the relationship between Johan and Yultrung becoming increasingly close. Vo immediately began to urge Johan to harm him to revenge himself. However, Johan has no such intention. He is preparing to become an insider. He will collect evidence of the crimes of high-ranking officials in the procuracy accepting bribes and reveal it all to light. Sozian now cries, now laughs, saying they have worked hard to get to this step, but in the end Johan wants to use the law to solve the problem. Sozian was very disappointed and wanted to leave Johan to act alone. At this time, Johan turned his cards back to her. He frankly said that he soon knew that it was Sozian, after learning about his insider plan, that introduced Johan to Lao Gio. Old Gio deliberately caused her permanent death and then used revenge as a bait to control Johan. Sozian knew all of these plans well. In other words, in her eternal departure, she was also an accomplice. But Johan won't do anything to Sozian and just hopes she can trust him again. But Sozian cannot let go of his hatred for department head Yule. That day, the prosecutor came to Johan to discuss the next plan. Johan plans to use Lawyer Go as bait so that the prosecutor will come out and investigate the people in the fairy cave. Who would have thought that when he arrived at the prison, he wouldn't meet anyone? When the prosecutor arrived, all the big men had disappeared without a trace. Afterwards, the prison director sent a text message to Sozian thanking her for informing her in advance. Thanks to his merit for the fairy god, Sozian took the opportunity to suggest that Johan be eliminated, then recommended himself to become the new employee for the elders. However, the time goes back to 4 days ago. On the day Johan played cards with Sozian, he specially checked to see if there was a good listening device in the house, then used his phone to record their conversation and put it under the house to play back. It turns out that in this casino there are many good players being monitored by prosecutors. After covering up, Johan whispered to Sozian that he would use another way to torture department head Yule, thereby making his end even more tragic than leaving forever. This time, Johan does not fight alone because his new plan has an additional force participating, which is the political opponent of Minister Hong and department head Yule. A person named Kim belongs to the Corruption Investigation Department. Johan's opportunity to connect with Mr. Kim came from a female police officer. Although the two are not on the same side, they have the same goal, which is to overthrow the corrupt organization of Department Head Eun and Minister Hong. Johan agreed to ally with Mr. Kim but gave one condition. He wanted one more target, and that was the prosecutor. The plan to further sweep the fairy cave was the first step for Johan to take advantage of the prosecutor after the raid on the fairy cave failed, leaving the prosecutor full of doubts. To keep this action a secret, he never revealed to anyone that the target was the fairy cave. But even so, the elders on the other side still retreated safely. He couldn't help but think that this was a play that Johan had created himself, deliberately leaving him empty-handed. Johan appeared extremely surprised and frankly said that if he offended the cave god, it would be like cutting off his own way out. You just had a good day. How could you destroy your own destiny? The prosecutor now reluctantly believed it. Taking this opportunity, Johann told Sozian to clean up the eavesdropping machines in the casino and increase security. Trung's alarm rang loudly in the prosecutor's heart, knowing that the eavesdropping devices he installed were about to be cleaned up. The prosecutor immediately went to the place where the lawyer was detained and used torture to force him to reveal the identities of the big men in the fairy cave. That day, Sozian discovered that within the prosecutor's office there was a new prosecutor named Kim. This person is still pursuing Chairman Seo's crimes. This Zeo president is the one who collaborated with Johann on the previous red and black version. That day, Johann met Prosecutor Kim and realized that, even though he was working in a corrupt control institute, he still maintained a righteous heart. Like Johann's father, he believes that as a prosecutor, the implementation of justice is obvious. There is no need to calculate the pros and cons or ask for any reasons. Hearing that, Johann's heart was a little moved. He immediately released shocking information. That is the inside story about how Minister Hong and Department Head Eun colluded with forces in prison to embezzle. Prosecutor Kim hesitated for a moment and then immediately raised his glass of wine. He knew he would have to talk to Johann for a long time. After winning the trust of the elders in the fairy cave, Sozian heard from one of them that their stay in prison was also on the orders of a higher level of leadership. Those people, besides the Macau casino and the fairy cave, are the remaining people holding the slush fund. The elders told Sozian to find another person. In the immediate future, that person will coordinate with her to replace Lawyer Go's position. Sozian immediately nominated a prosecutor. This suggestion is exactly what the prosecutor intended. Now he no longer needs to torture Lawyer Go to get the names of big names because the opportunity has found itself. The prosecutor secretly decided in his heart that he would first use Sozian as a bridge, and then cooperate with the elders to quickly advance in the officialdom to overthrow the department head, Iron, and Minister Hong. After the alliance, the two went to Chairman Zhang and Lao Du to inform them that the person working for the fairy cave was now them. The prosecutor took the place of the lawyer and became Sozian's partner. Sozian's immediate goal is to harm Johann to become the new manager of the casino. She shared the information that Johann now wants to punish Yule and use the law to expose each of his crimes. Sozian's plan is that after Rohan has collected evidence against Department Head Yule and the others, she will harm him and then take that evidence. They can also be used later to restrain the power of supervision. To counterattack Chairman Zhang and Lao Du agreed to ally with Sozian. The first thing to do is to save Chairman Zhang's brother out. To capture Department Head Yule, Rohan's next plan is to deliberately reveal Sozian's identity in front of him. Then he told the story that Sozian's family was harmed by him many years ago until he left forever. At that time, you will record evidence of him inciting harm to others. Rohan will let Teacher Nam pretend to harm Sozian, then use the recording to take Department Head Yule to court. At the same time, Rohan will threaten sponsors to abandon Department Head Yule. When he is completely abandoned, the law will be able to judge him fairly. However, at this time, Sozian accidentally revealed that he had not really turned against Rohan. Old Joe thought he had defeated Sozian, but he let his guard down and was declared anesthetized by her. The Zhang brothers knew that Sozian and Johann were still working together and immediately reported this news to their female superior. When the female superior learned that Johann intended to betray his sponsors, she was extremely depressed. At that moment, a group of people dressed in black entered her office, led by a beautiful but cold woman. As soon as she met her superior, the other woman gave the information she received. Vogue Eyes reported that the Zhang brothers and Lao Zhou had joined forces. While Sozian and Johann were also traitors to the sponsors who were essentially on the same side, the sponsors were very disappointed in the female superior. This woman came here to replace her and take control of the situation. After finishing dealing with her predecessor, this woman spread the news. Whoever harmed Johann would become the next person in charge of the casino. After wishing good luck to the anesthetist, Sozian tried to harm him. As soon as she finished, she saw on Lao's phone that she had received mass messages from the other woman. Whoever harms Johann will be the next casino manager. Sozian immediately called Johann. Johann was careful not to answer the phone right away, but used a public phone booth on the side of the road to call back. Sozian informed Johann that everyone around him now wanted to harm him. Hearing that, Johann still remained calm, but when he got back to the car, he deliberately slowed down a beat and then suddenly turned around and ran. The subordinates in the casino saw this and immediately chased after him. It turned out that all of them had seen the order to hunt and were looking for an opportunity to strike. In the end, he was able to chase away the pimps in a crowded alley and get on the Sosian car to pick him up. Johann saw that Sosian seemed lost, so he guessed that something had happened between her and the old man. But before Sosian could answer, the casino guy called. He led the people into the casino and arrested Cdrama. Johann agreed to return to the casino to meet and talk to him. Sosian had no choice but to take Johann back to the casino. Before Diako told him that absolutely nothing would happen, Johann went into the cave alone without showing any signs of fear. After entering the office, the other guy advised Johann to obediently accept the battle. It was clear that he also came here to compete for the management position. However, Johann did not say a word because his whole body was in a state of high alert. The other brother and sister glanced at him and signaled to his junior. Just as that guy was about to secretly attack Johann, the lights in the office suddenly went out. Competitors are also enemies. On the way, the two brothers murdered all of the other brother's subordinates. Very quickly, President Zhang led a group of people into the first office. Just when he was about to attack Johann and the other siblings, the curly-haired guy following him suddenly rebelled. It turned out that he was still loyal to the other brother and sister. At that moment, Johann took off the glare for Cdrama. Cdrama told him to save President Zhang at all costs because that way he could do business with his brother. Surveillance cameras in the office showed that the brother was on his way here. The other guy was scared, so he used the walkie-talkie to order his subordinates to stop him. Meanwhile, the red-haired guy once again held a knife and stabbed President Zhang, but Cdrama rushed over to block him from the knife. At this moment, the older brother also broke the door and came in, grabbed the red-haired guy and punched him like a punching bag. Before leaving, Forever Cdrama gave Johann a USB and asked him to take care of his daughter. The other Tay brothers and sisters saw this and immediately ran away. As soon as he got off the elevator, he pulled out a knife and stabbed the person in front of him. Only when he looked closely did he realize that it was Ji-san. But he had no way to escape, so he stabbed Ji-san a few more times. Johann carried Chairman Zhang up and promised that he would definitely save his life as long as his brother helped them stop the police. The older brother didn't believe Johann's words, but he replied that he needed his testimony to incriminate Department Head Un. Because of this, he will also keep his promise. The bloody case at the casino was exposed. Johann immediately became a fugitive suspect. The procurator feels this is a hot potato. Many people avoided it. Only the young prosecutor named Kim proactively asked to take charge of this case. E.UN school office found out and specifically went to Kim to ask him to add Sosian to the wanted list. Sosian discovered that he was also wanted. Feeling that Johann had no way back, she decided to use her own way to end this matter. The next day, Sosian went to the prosecutor's office to find Iron's room and opened fire on him. Chairman Zhang's injuries became more and more serious. If you don't get taken to the hospital, you can only wait patiently. But he didn't want to go to the hospital and asked Johann to let him see his brother. If he keeps leaving forever in silence like that, his brother will definitely not forgive Johann. Next, President Zhang told Johann that the video that T. Wang kept recorded evidence of Iron's crime. Just as Sosian was about to open fire on Yule's schoolroom, Rohan promptly came to stop her and proactively threw away his gun and surrendered. Prosecutor Kim arrived and arrested both Rohan and Sosian. In the interrogation room, Rohan recounted the entire process of following the clues of the USB to Sosian. He said that he had previously approached T. Wang to ask about the whereabouts of the USB. In a rare moment of sanity, T. Wang finally revealed. He said that casino ringleaders often hide their secrets in end-of-term payouts. All data recording these transactions is what is stored on the USB of the past. From that statement, Johann re-examined all suspicious transactions. After careful screening, he suddenly discovered the shocking truth. The other payments were hidden in a frontline account at the reformatory. Hearing this, Prosecutor Kim immediately asked Sosian to go to the bank to open an iron bond attached to that account. Sure enough, inside the iron fence was a USB stick belonging to Kwong Kwong. With evidence in hand, Kim quickly prosecuted Department Head Un with a series of serious crimes. Because of research before the arrest warrant was issued, Kim still passed on Johann's message asking Department Head Un to come to the casino to meet. That night when Chief Un entered the casino, he found Johann Sosian, the prosecutor, and Kim already waiting. Right there, Johann announced that he would open a blockade to Judge Department Head Un that night. So, Iron Trung just smirked arrogantly and challenged Johann to present evidence. Johann immediately turned on the TV in the room, and on the screen appeared money transfer charts that had been prepared in advance. Data shows that on the exact day Johan's grandmother passed away forever, Jun Seo and Lao Zhou's accounts both appeared due to suspicious translations. According to Johan, this is like a payment for searching other people. However, he also made it clear that that was only a small part of the evidence. Immediately after that, Johan continued to play the confession video of Chairman Zhang's brother. In that moment, President Zhang whispered a few things to his brother. After that conversation, the older brother agreed to testify for Johan. He recorded his own testimony confirming that Department Head Yul was the one who ordered Mr. Zhou to harm Johan's grandmother, and Mr. Zhou then arranged for Jun Seo K to directly do it. Faced with a series of accusations made by Department Head Yul, he still firmly denied them all. Not stopping there, Johan continued to open another video extracted from the USB found at T-Wang's place. In the video, the faces of Department Head Yul and his female superior appeared very clearly. The two were secretly discussing a plan to take advantage of the relationships of the big men in the fairy cave to gain profit. When seeing her image exposed on the screen, Department Head Yul finally began to panic. He immediately brought out the power of the sponsors behind him to threaten everyone. But what he didn't know was that the casino's senior leadership had quietly changed before. The woman who had just replaced the female superior had reached an agreement with Johan, according to which Department Head Yul would have to bear all the crimes that Johan had collected, as long as the incident did not affect the casino. To force Department Head Yul to submit, this woman even tried to harm the female superior right in front of everyone. At the same time, he implicitly warned that if Department Head Yul did not cooperate, he would be the next person. Falling into a situation where there were enemies on all sides, Department Head Yuan once thought of ending his life to avoid everything. However, Johan immediately warned that if he chose to do something foolish, his wife and children would not have a good ending after he left. That threat made Chief Yuan understand that he had no way back. He was forced to continue living, but living his whole life in humiliation. Finally, because of Chief Yuan's family, he had to accept submission. At the following trial, he publicly admitted all the crimes before the law. However, behind those apologies that seemed to show repentance, his mind was still filled with the intention of revenge. Head of the Un department reassured himself that even if he went to prison, he could still rely on the power of the Tian Cave to one day return. But that plan quickly fell apart. Right at the trial, prosecutor VN Kim suddenly publicized T. Wang's USB in front of everyone. In just a moment, the existence and entire activities of the Immortal Cave organization were completely exposed. After that, Rohan stepped onto the witness stand as the person who knew the entire incident. He swore to expose all the crimes of the cave gods. After finishing handling the case of Department Head Un and this organization, Rohan suddenly turned his cards up to the prosecutor himself. He intentionally stood in front of Chief No's tablet, and then played a video recording the scene where the prosecutor once harmed military police. Trung kept being exposed, causing the prosecutor to immediately kneel down and beg Rohan. He kept justifying that it was just a mistake from the past. However, Rohan had absolutely no intention of forgiving. On the outside, the prosecutor always appears upright, but in Rohan's eyes, his nature is no different from Department Head Yul. Both of them are people driven by ambition, willing to sacrifice the lives of others in exchange for their own benefit. Later, he used Sozian to gradually approach the cave of the Immortals organization. Tang proves that his conscience has long been swallowed by power. Half a month after the blockade, Department Head Un was escorted to the prison to serve his sentence. But the car carrying him was suddenly stopped in the middle of the road by a group of prostitutes. The leader is the guy who used to work in the casino. Everything turned out to be arranged by Sozian behind the scenes. After Department Head Un was dragged out of the car, Sozian walked over with a gun. MS Cold signaled her brother and sister to leave and then without hesitation opened fire, shooting straight at his knees. From that moment, Sozian wanted the person who ruined her life to live in pain like what she had endured. When revenge ended, the burden in Sozian's heart was finally relieved. She said goodbye to Johan, then proactively went to the police station to surrender. She confessed that she was the one who harmed old Gio, while Johan thought that everything ended with a news report on television that made him worthy. According to the latest announcement, Mr. Kim of the corruption investigation was demoted and the person appointed to replace him was the prosecutor. At this point, Johan realized that in the entire chain of events, the person who was really behind the scenes was him. From the beginning, the prosecutor skillfully provoked conflict between Johan and the Zhang brothers. He pitted forces against each other while he silently benefited. When the Fairy Cave organization was investigated, he quickly turned to please the remaining elders. The prosecutor promised to protect them, in exchange for them becoming a wall of power to help him climb higher positions in the corruption investigation. After becoming a bright candidate for the position of chief, the prosecutor immediately quietly prepared a plan to eliminate Johann and Sozian. At that time, both were in prison, but before he could act, he was found by Chairman Zhang's brother. Faced with such a ruthless person, the prosecutor's future immediately became unclear. Not long after, Johann was suddenly taken away by several people. The person waiting for you there was an agent of the National Intelligence Service. They showed Johann a photo of the woman who had just taken over the position of female superior at the casino, then asked him to become an insider to approach her. Hearing that suggestion, Johann could only smile bitterly. He did not expect that the fate of being a spy would return to him once again. Johann clearly understands that the road ahead will be full of dangers, but if there are no people who dare to continue, the so-called justice will forever be just a word. Because the road to finding justice is long and bumpy, and only faith is enough to illuminate the footsteps of those who dare to continue. This is the end of today's movie. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching. Even though a like for one person is just a small thing like a rabbit, it can make the channel owner even happier. So if you like it, please leave us a like and a subscription to support our channel. If you want me to review any other thrilling movies, please quickly leave them below in the comment section right away. And now, hello and see you again, my beloved family. I love you.